With the beautiful sun shining and our hot, usually dry desert weather, it's hard to believe that we are right in the middle of flash flood season. Hello, I'm Betty Hollister, Public Information Manager for the Regional Flood Control District, and welcome to another edition and another year of the Flood Channel. Coming up on today's program, we'll take a look at the district's Flood Safety News Conference. After that, grab your pencils and books because we're going back to school with a report about how we teach students about flood safety. From there, we'll say hola to our friends at Univision who are helping us get the flood safety message out to our Spanish-speaking community. And next, we'll see how the district tracks potentially dangerous storms with the flood threat recognition system. And finally, we'll hit one out of the park with District Board Chairman Larry Brown and Fox 5 Chief Meteorologist Darren Peck. All that and questions from viewers like you in our segment Flood 101 and a lot more on this edition of the Flood Channel. Yummy steaks on the grill, cool dips in the pool, hanging out with friends and golfing with your buddies are all reminders that summer is in full swing. And while people are enjoying our desert weather, many are unaware that July through September is also a time when heavy rain, damaging storms, and flash flooding are more likely to happen. So what does that mean for you and your family, and how can you be ready if faced with a flash flood emergency? Well, the district and the National Weather Service held a news conference to explain why summer rain can be so dangerous.
Welcome to our annual conference that kicks off the flash flood season. July through September is flash flood season. Weather like this is intense heat. Storms can pop up with little or no warning, and that's why we want to get out there and get the message to the people about the dangers of driving through flooded areas and protecting themselves. Really, we do two things at the Flood Control District. One, we keep floods away from people. And the second thing we try to do is keep people away from floods, and that's what this conference is all about.
Good morning, National Weather Service, Las Vegas.
The news conference not only kicks off flash flood season, but also explains why summer storms are the most dangerous and showcases some of the equipment used by the National Weather Service to monitor potentially dangerous storms.
Summer is flash flood season because that's the season when thunderstorms are more prevalent. When we get wintertime rains, the rainfall is often more gentle. It falls over a longer period of time. But in the summertime with a thunderstorm, you may get an inch or 2 inches of rain over a matter of 30 minutes. And that's what causes the flooding problems because our soil can't absorb that kind of rainfall quickly enough. We use a variety of tools. We use, for example, a radar to detect precipitation producing clouds. We use satellite imagery, just various kinds of ways to just take snapshots from the spacecraft. We use observations such as airport weather stations, Clark County Flood Control District gauges that will produce and generate routine observations of temperature and humidity and wind and pressure. But when conditions warrant a watch or a warning, the National Weather Service sort of has the responsibility for that. A watch means conditions are favorable for flash flood producing thunderstorms to develop. A warning means flash flooding is imminent or perhaps already occurring over a specific region. You know, warning is intended to be just a more severe word of take caution, but the distinction is watch comes first. It's a broad area, conditions are favorable, sort of a, you know, watch out, be aware. And warning means the conditions are happening and there's life-threatening danger.
Education and awareness seems to be the key today. We have so many people coming in, the influx of new residents, upwards of 6,500, 7,000 people, and we have to maintain this campaign year-round for the next 25 years. The education is so very important. We that live here have seen the devastation that these rains and flash flooding can do to people and property. So please help us with that message. And thank you. Thank you to our member agencies, with the cities and the county, their public works, especially their fire safety, rescue personnel, Metro and our other police departments. This whole partnership in addressing the safety issues involved in flood awareness, flood control, flood safety, it's so very important. We appreciate, on behalf of the Flood Control District and Gail Frazier and all his great staff, we thank you for coming out, and we appreciate what you do to keep that word on flood safety out there in the forefront of our community.
With so many new people moving here every month and the ever-changing landscape of Southern Nevada, today's news conference is another example of the district's ongoing effort to keep you and the community informed. For more flood safety tips, check out the district's website at regionalflood.org. We'll have more on the Flood Channel coming up. Stay right there.
See that clogged storm drain? Something like that, when it rains, will cause water to back up and flood our streets. Hello, Regional Flood Control District. I'd like to report a clogged storm drain. City and county employees are working hard to keep your storm drains clean. If you spot a clogged storm drain, call and report it.
Help protect the environment by keeping our drains and washes clean. Report clogged storm drains by calling 455-3139.
I'm a lion!
Yes, you are. Come here. Let's see how this looks.
Hey, how's my little horse?
She's a lion.
Yes, she is.
Hi, I'm Gladys Knight, and hundreds of our kids in Clark County are in crisis and need a home. Call now.
What is a 100-year flood?
The definition of a 100-year flood is a flood that has a 1% chance of happening in any given year. To explain it another way, I have 100 marbles in this jar. 99 are blue, 1 is green. Every time I reach into the jar, I have a 1% chance of bringing out the green marble. The same with a 100-year storm. Not very likely, but absolutely possible. So I answered my pop quiz correctly, and I got an A+. Let's see how our own Candace Seeley does at Beatty Elementary School, teaching students there about flood safety.
What better way to start the day at John Beatty Elementary School than with a pop quiz? Now, not one of my favorites as a student, but are you ready? Put your thinking caps on. All right, what is 7 times 9?
63.
Oh, that was great. Okay, next question. Are you ready? What is the capital of Nevada?
Carson City.
Okay, that was great. You have 100% so far, but we have one more question left, and it's the hardest question, so get ready. What causes more deaths than any other natural disaster?
No idea.
Did you answer hurricanes or maybe tornadoes? You probably had no idea that the answer is floods. And that's why the district's Flood Safety Student Outreach Program is critical to raise awareness and educate our valley's youngest residents. Even more important is that these students can talk to mom and dad about why it's never a good idea to drive through flooded areas. All right, and so let me go ahead and tell you what exactly a flood is, okay? So with an A+ on our pop quiz, I wondered how my students would fare when asked some tough questions about what they learned at today's Flood Safety Student Outreach Program. Water, tons and tons of water, just everywhere, right? So I'm looking for 4 things that can cause flooding, all right? So let's go ahead and talk about them real quick. Go ahead, give me one.
A lot of these kids are walking home after school or coming to school by means of bike and walking, and they cross the drainages and they go by. On weekends, they spend time playing in the area, and so when there's a drainage or a ditch nearby, kids are tempted. And if they know the dangers of it, it might deter them from going in.
I learned that when you're outside and there's a rain advisory, you should stay inside because you could get hurt or killed.
Being a parent myself, I know that if my kids were in there right now, they would remind me every time it rained.
With a proactive approach to education and the district's Flood Safety Student Outreach Program, the students at John Beatty Elementary School, as well as students across the valley, are sure to be flood safety superstars, which certainly gives them an A+ for the day. Which makes me wonder, Betty, were you a straight A student?
Straight A's in school? Well, let me think about that and I'll get back to you. We'll be back with more on the Flood Channel after this.
I could reach the stars, pour one down for you, so you could see the truth, that I can change the world. I would be the sunlight in your universe, and if I could, I'd change the world.
The human heart, just over 1% of your body weight, but critical to your survival. Our Earth has places, just over 1% of its surface, which are critical to our survival. They're called biodiversity hotspots, and Conservation International is fighting to protect them before they disappear forever. These hotspots are home to over 60% of the world's species, plants and animals that provide food and medicine, that clean our air and water, that keep our planet alive. Conservation International is a hands-on, get-it-done organization. We involve science, business, governments, and local people to get results. Conservation International has helped save millions of acres and hundreds of species. It's working. 1% may not seem like much, but sometimes it can make all the difference in the world, literally. Find out more. Visit conservation.org.
Hi, I'm Mr. Paris. I teach at John R. Beatty Elementary, and you're watching
The Flood Channel!
Did you know that nearly 8,000 new people move to Clark County every month, and many of these new residents speak only Spanish? And because of that, the district, working with Univision, took a proactive approach to get the message of flood safety out to our Spanish-speaking community.
Our role as a Spanish language broadcaster in Southern Nevada is a very significant one, with over 500,000 Hispanics and many others who speak Spanish and who tend to view and or listen to any one of our 4 media properties. We provide them with a wide variety of information, both in the form of news pieces as well as public service announcements, as well as entertainment. And through those means, we furnish people with information regarding life in Southern Nevada, some of the important issues, furnishing them with cautions such as those advisories of the Regional Flood Control District.
Podría ser estresante y comer de más podría entonces ser una respuesta al estrés.
¿Qué tal? Gracias por acompañarme aquí en este su segmento del clima.
About half of our universe are Spanish language dominant, so we become their funnel of information on, again, important issues and news.
Delivering the message of flood safety to the Spanish-speaking population in the Valley is done by Univision, but creating the message of flood safety in Spanish that produces a lasting impression is the goal and challenge for Scott Robertson and his creative team at RW Advertising.
The biggest challenge trying to communicate the flood message to the Spanish-speaking community is probably ensuring that you're culturally relevant in your messaging and finding the appropriate targeted media vehicles to reach them. A lot of ad agencies and trying to reach Spanish-speaking populations will take their English creative campaign and simply have it translated verbatim. And what that often does is take away the unique flavor or cultural significance of, say, you might have some slang or something that's unique to a certain culture that you're using. And in Spanish, the translation may mean something else entirely, or it may lose something, or it may not be as funny or meaningful. So what we do is we'll work with, rather than me try to pretend that have an understanding of Spanish culture, we'll work with partners. And in this case, we worked with Juan Saavedra at Univision, and we actually, here's the campaign, here's how it works. Can you guys generate some ideas on this and help us? Give us some headlines that you think Spanish speakers will take notice of and that are a little more culturally authentic.
People give us their time, watch our station, because they know they can depend upon us. They can depend upon us for information, and even on things that are not glamorous issues. They want to know information that they can't get anywhere else in their language, in their context, and relevant to them. They know that day in, day out, we will provide that to them.
With aggressive outreach programs like the one you just saw with Univision and the one featured earlier with our local schools, the district hopes to accomplish one of its most important goals, informing you and your family, no matter how young you are, no matter what language you speak, about flood safety. We'll be back with more on the Flood Channel after this.
Hola, soy Chris Román, gerente general de Univisión Canal 15 en Las Vegas, y estás sintonizado en el Flood Channel.
While progress should never come to a halt, there are many places it should never come to at all. So we work locally with communities, businesses, and people like you to save precious places around the world, forever. I'm Paul Newman. Help the Nature Conservancy save the last great places.
Every 3 seconds, someone needs blood. Now. 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 And you never know when you or someone you love might be the one. Need we say more? Please, give blood. Call to schedule an appointment. United Blood Services. It's about life.
Wouldn't it be great if we could control the weather? Just think of the possibilities. With just one snap, we could start the rain. Unfortunately, the weather here in the desert can quickly take a turn for the worse. So to monitor and detect severe storms, the district uses the Flood Threat Recognition System. Candace Seeley has the story. Let's see Lance Burton do that.
Flash flood season is here, and the Regional Flood Control District is always monitoring severe storms that cause flooding. To accomplish this, the district collects important data using the Flood Threat Recognition System.
Flood Threat Recognition System is a system that allows us to receive real-time information on rainfall and other parameters around the county in real time to detect the possibility of flooding. Field stations, we have a network of some 150 rain gauges, water level sensors, and other hydrologic parameters. They report automatically in real time via radio telemetry to our offices here in the district, as well as to the National Weather Service and the U.S. Geological Survey. The light board is a tool that we have that lets us know very visually and immediately when it's raining and when there are problems in the county or in the Las Vegas Valley. Each of the lights represents a gauge in the valley. The red lights are rainfall gauges and the green lights are water level gauges. When it's raining at a particular gauge, the light will turn on so we can see immediately where it's raining. Yeah, we've got, like I say, 150 some gauges around the county. Rather than going in and interrogating or looking at the data from any individual gauge, we can see the whole area at one time, where it's raining hard, where the water is running off.
So in essence, we're really not out for a flood warning purpose. Our purpose is just to measure the rainfall that's coming down and how much rainfall is filling up in detention basins and flood channels.
Well, there's really 2 approaches to flood control. One's keeping water away from people, and one's keeping people away from the water. With our system, we can monitor where it's raining, how hard it's raining, and project where it's going to flood, and by providing that information to the public, keep them out of harm's way.
This state-of-the-art network located throughout Clark County records wind, humidity, and temperature. The system also measures rainfall and the depth of water in the flood control system. Analyzing this data allows us and the National Weather Service another tool to alert the general public and emergency responders of potential danger areas.
Well, the National Weather Service have a staff of trained meteorologists who are on duty 24 hours a day. They have a number of tools available to them. They're computer models, satellite imagery, radar. Our network provides them with ground truth on what's actually happening on the ground. They can look at their radar and see what's happening 10 or 15,000 feet up in the air, but they don't know how much of that water is actually hitting the ground. Our network provides them with ground truth on that, so it helps them calibrate their system and monitor as well.
How does all this work? What is this right here that we're looking at?
Okay. This is a standard tipping bucket rain gauge that we use. Funnel sits on top of this, directs the rainfall into the small funnel, fills up a bucket. When it's filled, the weight of the water will tip it over, empty itself out, send a signal to our transmitter, which communicates with the computers at our base station, and puts another tipping bucket in place. So it can just go back and forth, and every tip of the bucket is 1 millimeter of rainfall. So we calibrate these annually, so every millimeter of rainfall we know about in real time. If it's raining in Laughlin, Nevada, we know about it within a quarter of a second of the bucket tipping.
The information collected by the system is a valuable resource to everyone in the community, especially when it's raining. Be sure to log on to our website at regionalflood.org to see in real time how much rain is falling before you travel those busy valley streets.
Hi, I'm Darren Peck, and when I'm not telling you the weather on Fox 5 News at 10, I'm watching the Flood Channel.
Children are fascinated by the wonders of the natural world. We need to show them and teach them, because the child you interest in science today may save your life or your world tomorrow.
Take a look at this cell right here. What do you think? It's a tornado. Never tied it up.
So inspire tomorrow's scientists today. Spread the word.
Johnny Cash was my dad. For years he had diabetes, but ignored it till his sight and health slipped away. If you have diabetes, test and control your blood sugar regularly. You'll be healthier and you'll feel better too. To learn more, visit healthywithdiabetes.org.
Hi, I'm Las Vegas City Councilman Larry Brown, and you're watching the Flood Channel.
We've all heard the song, Take Me Out to the Ball Game, right? Well, I promise I won't sing it for you. But we are here at Doc Romeo Park, where we're going to catch up with Chief Meteorologist Darren Peck with Fox 5 News, who's a Yankee fan, and District Board Chairman Larry Brown, who's a Red Sox fan. Okay, boys, bottom of the ninth, bases loaded, 2 outs. Here's the pitch.
So, Larry, we're out here on a beautiful complex of softball fields, but as I'm looking out towards beyond center field and left field, you're definitely not on a typical softball field. So when people come out here and play, how many people know that this is not a usual softball field and one that was designed with one purpose in mind?
Very few. In fact, if they have moved here since '99, they'd have no understanding of the history of this complex, because it's a basin that's critically important to the overall capital program, and yet we took advantage of a storm event and increasing capacity to create a public facility that is unparalleled, to be able to come in and use this mixed-use facility. And although we're in the summer, it's a little bit hot, during the year these 8 fields are absolutely abused by the residents, and that's what we want. We want people out here, we want players out here, we want the kids just on the next field over, learning softball, growing up. Athletics can be such an important part of their lives, and it's all because we were able to partner with the Flood Control District. We had an event, a flood event in 1999, that this basin filled up literally to the top and came close to going over the spillway. And just east of the complex, one of the largest business development parks in the entire city, including Mountain View Hospital. And the damage, the potential damage that would have been caused if it raised another 18 inches would have been into the tens of millions of dollars.
Wow.
After that event, they were going to increase the capacity. The city was moving in immediately to increase the capacity of this basin. And at the same time, we started talking about multi-use. Can we take our basins, which handle rain sometimes 1 or 2 times a year, and make use of the space the other 363 days a year? And that's was the genesis of Dock Romeo Park. We came in and literally by increasing the capacity, we moved dirt and created a plateau, still meeting all the flood control criteria, but we were able to build 2 Little League fields, 2 softball fields for the young girls, 3 adult softball fields, and a 90-foot baseball field. So 8 fields in total, and it's been just phenomenal.
So even though it's not the most common situation that this is going to flood, it's still possible, and we're inviting people to come out here and play on the field. So if the weather's starting to look a little iffy, what do people need to keep in mind if they're coming out to this field?
Well, again, Darren, it's the common sense, that education awareness, especially with all the new residents coming in. We're still close to 7,000 per month. Many people that have relocated, myself from Boston, don't know the dangers of flooding in the desert. They think the desert, it doesn't rain, and yet Mother Nature can be so unpredictable and so devastating that we have to constantly remind them to become aware, understand the dangers, and then use common sense. In a facility like this, we have systems in place that the marshals will come, they'll warn them, but most people understand. Get in the car, get home, get to high ground. Don't try to, tempt Mother Nature when you see those streets flooded. And it all comes down to that common sense approach to flood control.
Nice. All right, I got one last question for you. I know you used to pitch, but how are you at handling a curveball?
Well, it's been a long time since high school, but it depends how good that curveball is, Darren.
Well, let's see.
All right.
What a beautiful day for baseball at Dock Romeo Park. I'm Charlie McGraw with all your play-by-play for today's game. Today we have Fox 5 Chief Meteorologist Darren Peck on the hill facing District Board Chairman Larry Brown. Peck checks the signs with his catcher and shakes off a few. City Councilman Brown digs in at the plate. Peck checks the runner first. Brown gives a Babe Ruth point to center field, and here's the pitch from Peck. Brown hits it long. It's way back at the wall. It's out of here. Home run for Brown. And a grand slam for the residents of the Valley who can enjoy these dual-use facilities with their families that also function as detention basins to help avoid potentially dangerous flooding and severe storms.
So I guess it can hit that curveball. And that's all the time that we have on this edition of the Flood Channel. We hope that you enjoyed watching. And remember, log on to our website at regionalflood.org, where you can learn more about how we keep people away from floods and floods away from people. For all of us here at the Flood Channel, I'm Betty Hollister, and remember to always be flood safe.